Would you consider getting out of debt an attack? And I thought it would be good to talk about that, because I think when we do these sort of sessions and when people see finance, it's kind of like seeing health for a lot of people. It registers as like, oh, that thing I need to sort out, and then they kind of run away. So if someone's still watching, well done for still watching. But I think when you're talking about sort of growing, making more money, etc., the starting point is often the issue for people. So most young people, I think, are in debt, especially if they're into university. So because you're in debt, there is that sort of, when you're playing a game and you're so far behind, you're like, forget about the rules, just flip the table over. Mm-hmm. Some people do have that approach when it comes to personal finance. So how does one, of course, debt is complicated. People have lots of different types of debt. But just speaking generally, let's say you're someone who, you're £1,000 a year overdraft, right? You're £2,000 a year overdraft. So the first thing for you is almost, how do I get out of overdraft first so that I can actually start building money, wealth, savings, whatever you call it. How would you advise someone, who's in that situation?
Yeah, so the sort of debt that we're talking about is like high interest consumer debt. So that's overdrafts which have APRs of about 40%.
This is crazy.
And credit cards which have APRs of about 21%. And the thing there is that if you're in these types of debt, because the interest rates are so high and so much higher than what you could expect to receive from savings or even from investments. Like if you're making 40% a year returns on investments, go work for a hedge fund or something. Because the APRs are so high, you end up losing money from paying all that interest back. So for the overdraft specifically, I would say if you can, stop using the accounts that the overdraft is in. That might not require you to change bank, but for that specific account, I remember when I left university, I had a specific graduate account that had an overdraft in, but I had other accounts with that same bank as well. Stop using it. The next step is to, if you haven't done it already, look at how much you actually need to pay back in the overdraft, and then you pick a date in the future. You can pick a year, for example, and you make just a plan of, okay, if I pay back this much money, so the amount that the overdraft is in, divided by 12.
That's £1,200.
Yeah. If I pay back £100 a month, it'll probably be just over 100 because you have to factor in the interest. If I pay it back almost like a bill every month, then I'll clear the overdraft. What is difficult with overdraft is if you continue to use that account for day-to-day purposes, the amount in it is going to be changing, and so it's going to be difficult to know what you're paying back. So when it comes to debt, I like to isolate the account or the card that is in question, and then treat paying it off like a bill, like a monthly bill. If your credit rating allows, then you can take out what's called a money transfer credit card. Have you heard of one of these before?
No.
Okay, so a money transfer credit card is a credit card that lets you withdraw money from it for a fee. The fee is normally around the 3 to 4% of the balance that you're transferring range. So if you transfer £1,000 off a money transfer credit card, then you'll pay a fee of £30. So £1,030 will come off. And you can use that money to clear the overdraft in full. And then you can pay off the money transfer credit card. And a lot of them are 0%. And so long as you make the minimum payment every month and then clear the card in full by the end of the 0% period, then you don't have to pay any additional interest over and above that 3 or 4% fee.
And how long is normally the interest-free period, that sort of
I have a money transfer credit card which has been 0% for years.
Oh, wow.
They just keep extending it. Some are like that. But when it comes to 0% cards, somewhere in between the 18 to 24 month range is sort of normal.
So is that sort of good for almost consolidating your debts as well? If you've got all these different debts, 1,000 here, £200 from that time you went crazy at Domino's, and you guys didn't pay it back. You got all this, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I got to pay off because they're accruing, whatever. If you can consolidate them, pay it off with this money transfer credit card,
Yeah.
and then you can just focus on this is the one sort of place where all my debts are, and me paying that off is actually building my credit score because I imagine it's doing that, or it doesn't do that.
Yeah, so paying, depending on how much debt you have outstanding, reducing the amount of debt that you owe does have a positive impact on your credit rating because it reduces your credit utilization. And a credit utilization across all of your borrowings of below 30% is generally seen as good. I mean, there are different credit rating agencies in the UK, but if you can keep it below 30%, just for like basic illustration purposes, wherever you borrow money from, whatever your balance is, if you borrow 30% or less of that balance, then that's seen as favorable. So yes, paying off your debt will have a positive impact on your credit rating.